The flat ground always arrives. And you might not know what this means, but you will. It's been the truth of every run I've ever taken, every mountain I've ever climbed, and overall, every challenge I've faced in life. It's the reminder that's carried me when my lungs burned, my legs felt like lead. It's been there when the finish line seemed impossibly far away. And the idea kind of reoccurred to me perfectly a few days ago on a run up Pinnacle Peak, which is a duo of mountains about 20 minutes up the road from me. Essentially, two connecting mountains. You run up one and then down it, and it connects to the other mountain, which you run up and then down. And once you've completed that, you kind of turn around and you just retrace those steps. Up, down, down. It takes about 40 minutes. And I've done it about 10 times now. And the hardest part is what I've called climb 3, right? That's the point where you run up, down, you turn around to do it all again, and it's technically your third ascent. You know, the start of the journey back. And it just so happens to be the steepest part of the climb and the longest part of the climb. It feels like endless steps. And as you can imagine, running uphill like that, your heart races and, you know, your lungs, they gasp for air. And when you're in the thick of it, right, precisely in that moment, you know, you've already run halfway, you're exhausted, you know, your legs are starting to feel heavy, and the thought of another 20 minutes, it's almost impossible to compartmentalize. It feels overwhelming in totality. Here's what I realized. That feeling, that overwhelming sense of discomfort, you won't feel that the entire run. In fact, you won't even feel that the entire duration of quote-unquote climb 3. Why? Well, because even during climb 3, there are these little 10-second stretches where the ground flattens, and it creates this tiny reprieve, a gift. And you might laugh and go, 10 seconds, that's nothing. It's more than enough for your body to reset. Like, funny enough, 10 seconds is an eternity. It's enough to catch your breath. It's enough to, get yourself together as you give your feet, your legs, the gift of running on flat ground for a few seconds. It gives you everything you need to carry on. And all runs are like that. You know, it's not necessarily pain until the end. It's pain until the next reprieve. And there's a giant difference between the two things. You just need to make it to the flat ground, which is there and will arrive sooner than you think. And every time life feels too hard, similarly, there's always a reprieve, always a patch of earth that flattens out, always a singular moment to breathe. And so the power in being able to put your faith in those moments is life-changing. Let the course take care of the rest. You know, and the next day, I was talking to my videographer, Brandon, about this metaphor. You know, I realized this running yesterday. Does it make sense? Does it resonate? And his eyes kind of lit up. He's like, yeah, it reminds me of aid stations in ultramarathons. You know, because the runners, they're not thinking about 100 miles. They're thinking about the next aid station. That place where you can breathe and regroup and recover and set out again. This allows the miles to break down into manageable pieces. The impossible becomes possible in bite-sized chunks. That's life. We break under the weight of forever, under the illusion that the pain or the uncertainty or the uphill climb must last for eternity. But it doesn't. Life is not a 100-mile sentence of suffering. It's a series of aid stations, a handful of breaths on flat ground. So when it hurts, don't carry the burden of the entire journey on your shoulders. That doesn't help you. It doesn't help the situation. Don't let your mind convince you that the climb never ends. Now, carry what's in front of you. Run to the next aid station, the next reprieve. Find your next patch of flat ground. It's there. And the truth is, life is not built in lifetimes, it's built in moments. It's not conquered in decades, it's conquered in seconds. And if you can master the seconds, if you can take the next step, if you can make it to that breath of air, you can handle the rest. That, my friends, is how you move mountains. It's how you turn impossible things into inevitable victories. Not by taking the whole weight of the world at once, but by trusting the intervals of grace along the way. And when you look back, you will realize what felt unbearable was only temporary. What felt infinite was just a climb. And guess what? You climbed it. The reprieves carry you. The aid stations save you. The flat ground reminds you that life doesn't ask you to be invincible. It asks you to be faithful to the next step. So the next time life feels too heavy, don't think about the entire journey. Don't measure yourself against the whole mountain. Just get to the flat ground in front of you, and then the next one, and the next one. That's how impossible things are done. That's how ordinary lives become extraordinary stories. One reprieve at a time. In your darkest moments, remember, flat ground always arrives. Life is about duality. It's about being grateful for the road behind you, but also excited and hungry for what's ahead. That balance is where growth lives. It's why we created AGNS. Always grateful, never satisfied. More than just an apparel company, it's a reminder that there's always another hill to climb. And if you go to agns.lifestyle and you sign up for the email list, you'll get daily inspiration right to your inbox, latest updates on all the new merch drops, as well as a 20% off discount code. Hope to see you there. There's a threshold you can't see. That is, until you cross it. Think about this, a world you don't even know exists. And you never encounter that reality until you leave the comfort of the one that you've always known. I've learned this again and again, and I will learn it many times into the future. You think you know your limits. Maybe because you feel like you're playing on the edges, touching the walls of your routine and calling that the perimeter of your power. But that's not the truth. That's just what you've grown used to. And see, there's a monumental discrepancy between those two things. There is a version of you right now living in the shadows of what could be. A version you'll only meet when you go farther than you've ever gone. But the only way to find out how far you can go is to risk going too far. That's when the walls break. That's when the illusion of normal crumbles. Because as comfortable and familiar as normal was, it was never your ceiling. It was, we'll call it more of a sandbox, a cage, a box you unknowingly chose to live in. And when you step out, when you face the resistance, the fatigue, the voice screaming, "Enough, I'm done," and still you don't stop, you see it. For the first time, you feel it. Not some facade, not some made-up story or narrative. No, you come face to face with that version of you that has always been there, just buried, right beneath the comfort and fear and excuses, right beyond the normalcy that clouds our vision. This is the belly of the beast. And contrary to how I've thought in the past, contrary to maybe the easiest trap to fall into, that chaos is not there to break you. It's there to introduce you to the real you. The one who does not run from challenges, but instead walks towards them with open arms. Because in this place, you learn the most important lesson of all. You have been playing small. You've been living at half speed, simply telling yourself that it was full throttle. And maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe you've wanted more all along. Well, surprise, this is your reminder that it's there. But unpacking it, unboxing it has to be intentional. Now that you know, once you've seen it, it can never be unseen. This is just the beginning, knocking down wall after wall, breaking barrier after barrier. So go. Don't go far. Go too far. Go further than feels necessary or rational. Go further than your mind in its present state can even comprehend, because that's the only way to find out how far you can truly go. So, question, how many best-selling books were almost written? And how many Oscar-winning movies were almost made? How many multi-million-dollar businesses were almost started? How many lifelong relationships almost initiated but weren't? So, a few years ago, I was gonna run a half marathon with my sister. We were in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, visiting our parents, and I think it was a Thanksgiving half marathon, or maybe it was I can't remember. But so I've been training and working towards it, and the day of the race, I'm super sick, like stuffed nose, all congested, coughing, and so obviously I'm kind of weighing the pros and cons and thinking, I'm not going to do this today. Right? It's unfortunate. I'll cheer my sister on. But as we get there, I think, what's the worst that could happen? Right? I have to walk. Who cares? So I lace up and I go, which seems like a very unremarkable thing until I start going and feeling really good. And I don't know how to rationalize that or why I felt so good. But it carried on throughout the entire race, and I ended up getting a personal best. And the reason that race stuck with me and I never forgot about it is because of how close I was to saying no. How close I was to missing what would have been the best run of my life at the time in that distance.
And how many times in life we do the same thing? Like, how many times do we turn our backs on what would have completely transformed our world? Or maybe not even quit before we began, but stopped early. Felt too much doubt and insecurity, became too impatient. And if we just hung on, right? Like, there's an idea that so many people gave up not knowing how close they were to the exact result they were looking for, when any action can bring you that much closer, and every day is another step towards that goal. So you have to remember that there's so many things in life that you're capable of bringing to the world that you're stopping just short of.
Life doesn't ask permission before it changes. It doesn't knock politely on your door before it rearranges everything you thought you knew. No, life barges in. It bends the road you're on, it shifts the ground beneath your feet, and it looks at you without an apology as it asks, what are you gonna do about it? And here's the truth. The people who win in this world, they're not the ones with the biggest muscles. They're not the ones with the most money in the bank or the most degrees on the wall. They're the ones who can take what life throws at them and adapt. Because life is not predictable. It's certainly not neat. It's not orderly. And those who cling to what was, or get angry when life deviates from how it was quote-unquote supposed to be, well, they get left behind. But on the other hand, those who bend and shift and move with the chaos, well, they are the ones who rise. And like so many of us, right, time teaches. I've learned this the hard way. I used to think if I planned enough and prepared enough, if I controlled enough, I'd be safe. But life does not reward control, rewards flexibility. I look back to jobs that ended, friendships that dissolved, unexpected detours. Every time I thought, this must be the end. But it never was. It was always some sort of beginning. The moment I let go of what I thought should happen, the moment I stopped demanding life play by my rules, well, that was the moment I started to find freedom. Because life obviously does not care about Eddie's rules. It's interesting that, Darwin, who we all know from grade school, right, he did not coin the term survival of the fittest. That was Herbert Spencer later. What Darwin really said was, it's not the strongest that survive, not even the smartest, it's the ones most adaptable to change. And I think about that. I think about the importance and the weight of the ability to be agile, to evolve with the circumstances in your environment. I mean, think about it. Entire species disappear because they just couldn't adjust. Entire industries collapse because they couldn't evolve. And the same is true for us individually. Adaptability is not a luxury. It's not a nice to have. It's survival. It's the growth of success, of, you could say life itself. And I want to share a story that kind of exemplifies this. First time I heard it was, maybe a decade ago on a podcast called Business Wars that I'm not even sure is around anymore, but it stuck with me. And it's the difference between Blockbuster and Netflix and their sort of battle during a very transitory time in the digital space. And so the height of its power in the early 2000s, Blockbuster was unstoppable, right? I'm 37, almost 38. And if you're in my age, you remember how awesome it was going to Blockbuster on the weekend. I mean, that was peak living. Pizza and Blockbuster, right? I mean, they had over 9,000 stores, millions of customers walking in every weekend to rent those movies. They were the kings of entertainment. But then something happened. A small company called Netflix started mailing DVDs to people's homes. No late fees, no trips to the store, just convenience, right to your door. And the critical part is Netflix, as they went on this venture, kept adapting. They moved from the mail to streaming. They were looking ahead, while everyone else was, at best stuck in the present moment, sometimes even looking back, right? They asked, how is the world changing? And then they moved with it. Blockbuster did not. They laughed at the idea, right? In fact, Netflix once offered to sell themselves to Blockbuster for like $50 million, and Blockbuster turned it down. Today, Netflix is worth billions, obviously, and Blockbuster is no more. And it is, to me, the quintessential story of adaptability. It's the difference between thriving and disappearing, between leading and becoming a memory. The ones who adapt, they don't just survive, they define the future. And, on a personal level, most of us are not running billion-dollar companies. But we all are navigating a life that doesn't go as planned. As much as we wish that it did, it's just not the way it works out. The relationship that ends, the job that disappears, the health scare that comes out of nowhere, the opportunity that arrives when you least expect it. These are curveballs. And in those moments, the question isn't, did I have a perfect plan? Never, right? The question is, here's the situation, can I now adjust? That's everything. Can you take what's left and work with it? Can you still find a way forward? Because if you can, there's nothing you can't handle. Adaptability is a superpower. It means no matter what comes, you're not defined by circumstance, you're defined by response. You're not chained to what you lost, you're empowered by what you can build. You're not afraid of change, you are fueled by it. When you're adaptable, the world becomes an ally instead of an adversary. Obstacles become teachers. Setbacks become merely points to pivot. And endings become new beginnings. It's a game I've had to play many times in the storytelling, podcasting, media space. And it's one I'm playing now, right? How do we evolve with the times, with the changing landscape? And, I'll give a quick example of the first time that happened. And I won't go in too deep here because I don't want to bore anybody, but essentially, on YouTube, I used to write 3-minute speeches. I mean, they were essentially songs. I'd write the background music, there'd be a slow beginning, a middle, and then a crescendo, and that's what I did, and for a while it worked, and then the media landscape sort of changed, and the algorithms changed. Podcasting started blowing up, and people wanted to put headphones on and walk for an hour, run for 2 hours, listen on their way to work, and it was like, listen, if you don't learn to adapt your style and figure out how to entertain and captivate an audience over a longer period of time, you're going to lose. And so that was the first time where it was like, all right, as a writer, as a creative, as a speaker, storyteller, you got to figure it out. And that was scary, right? The safety nets I thought I had disappeared. I wanted to resist and fight the change. I wanted to scream, this isn't fair. But what good is resistance when the world's already moved on? The road had already bent. The question was, would I bend with it? And once I did, I found opportunities I never would have seen. Doors I never would have knocked on suddenly opened, because what happens when you adapt, you stop clinging to the door that closed and you start noticing the doors that are open all around you. The world is changing faster than ever. Tech, culture, the economy. What worked yesterday won't work tomorrow, right? That saying, what got you here won't get you there. And the people who thrive in this world, they aren't the ones waiting for things to go back to normal. They're the ones creating a new normal. They're the ones that can wake up every day and say, I don't need to be perfect. I don't need it to go my way. But whatever comes, I will find a way through. That is the edge. That is the advantage. So I'll sum it up with this. You have infinite upside and opportunity. There is a world laid out for you beyond comprehension. But we need to adjust the mindset. Don't pray for a smooth road. Don't hope life stays the same, because it won't. Instead, build the muscle, build the resilience, build the superpower. The ability to adapt, to bend without breaking, to shift when life shifts. Because if you can do that, you are unstoppable. Maybe not the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, but the one who can take what life throws and make it fuel. Blockbuster didn't fail because it was small, it failed because it refused to change. Netflix didn't succeed because it was invincible, it succeeded because it was looking forward, because it adapted. That can be your story too. Not that you had an easy road, but you had the courage and the flexibility, the adaptability to rise no matter what. Remember, life is not about having perfect plans. It's about finding a way, finding a response to whatever shows up. And the greatest response you'll ever give is simple. I will adjust, I will adapt, and I will rise. Nothing is ever broken beyond repair. Nothing's too far gone to be rectified or optimized. The question is whether you're willing to identify the requirements to fix it and then intentionally walk down that path of recreation. Matthew McConaughey said, "Life is not fair. It never was. It isn't now, and it won't ever be. Don't fall into the trap, the entitlement trap of feeling like you're a victim. You are not. Don't ever think your situation, no matter how dire, cannot be remedied, can't be fixed, adjusted, that it's not a stepping stone to something beautiful. You always have that control. Always." I'm going to use the body as an example again. Not because I think physical fitness is the only thing, but because I think it is the perfect metaphor for life. I think if we understand physical resilience, grit, and persistence, we can handle anything the external world presents to us. I can't even articulate how at one point I was 1000% convinced, I was positive that I'd never be able to lift weights overhead again. My shoulders were just that bad. But chiropractors, body work, stretching, nutrition, supplements, sauna, all these things, in over a year since that journey began, I'm seeing progress like I've never imagined. Despite the occasional flare-ups and injuries from time to time, but that's, we'll chalk it up as life. I'll never forget my buddy saying to me, "Dude, you're not special. This isn't an Eddie curse. Millions of people have shoulder issues all over the world. Just do what you need to do to fix it." Or a similar conversation talking with my bodywork specialist, Shazzy. She's incredible. And just the confidence and reassurance to be like, "Oh, okay, your back hurts when you breathe. Roger that. Let's move a few things around. Let's get some blood flow to the aggravated spots. You'll be up and running in no time." When you're in these little valleys, you start thinking they're forever, when in actuality, they're a minor setback. You work on it until it's resolved, and maybe it's 95% resolved or 80% resolved, whatever, fine. But you can get to a place where it's manageable, where you can work around it. My friend and one of my fitness coaches, Justin, said, "Keep taking the supplements. Stay on your vitamins, keep walking, keep doing your plunging, your sauna, because when this turns around, and it will, if you maintain, you'll feel like you're shot out of a cannon. It'll be way easier to get back into rhythm And just that reframing of, the temporary nature of what I'm going through, looking at it as truly a bridge to the other side, is everything. That's what was so powerful, the implication that this, just like anything else, is a storm, and all storms pass. So prepare yourself for the sunny skies, even amidst the chaos. And the idea is the same thing here goes with business. It goes with the arguments or the times we fall out with loved ones. It goes with creating or sharing your art on social media and not getting that positive reaction right away. Right? It goes with feeling stuck in your career. The dead end. But everything is fixable. Momentum is always one move away, even when we don't know exactly what the answer is. Because one step away from the wrong thing starts the journey. Moving away from where you shouldn't be opens up space for a new story, a new reality to take shape. In nature, forest fires seem like utter destruction, right? But ecologists know that many forests need the fire. That heat cracks open pine cones, seeds sprout, and the land is reborn greener and more vibrant than ever before. Fire doesn't destroy. It creates new conditions for growth. Even though from the outside in, something about that process just seems innately sad, disturbing even. So much beauty gone, so much change taken away, never to be the same. But in death, forged by flames, life creates space for the next chapter. Now, I've been in that spot plenty of times, where you can only see the ashes and smoke. You can only feel the gaps in your life, the overwhelm. I know that pain. But I think the prospect that your turbulence is a forever thing is what hurts most. The pain of thinking about the delta between your current situation and the ideal, holding on to what's gone or missing, that spot is where the pain is. It's why understanding the power of moving in the right direction is everything. It's why when you know there's a solution, even when it's not resting in the palm of your hand, that is enough. Enough to begin, enough to initiate change. The phoenix is a mythical bird that dies in a burst of flames and is reborn from its ashes. It symbolizes regeneration and transformation, pointing to the truth that nothing is ever really lost. It's simply a precursor to rebirth. Everything is setting you up for the solution. Everything. So when you look around and see that combination of immobility and despair, I need you to remember, you're one step away from a new reality entirely, from transcending the ashes around you and moving higher than you've ever been. You are not stuck or chained or tied to what was. No, the world is yours to build anew. If you can't see the path now, if it doesn't make sense, fine, just go. Let the answers materialize as you walk the path before you. Because in this world, everything, and I mean everything, is fixable. There's an old saying, if you're already in pain, if you've already walked through hell, you might as well get something out of it. Because pain on its own is just suffering. But pain with purpose, well, that's transformation. Quick story that I think will help kind of paint this picture. And this is really the light bulb moment for me, where I'm like, wow, this is something that it's going to stick with me for a while. And I'd love to pass it along to my audience here. So A few days ago, I was in the gym training with Eric, my friend and trainer, and we're doing intervals. Kind of like basically lifting weights followed by some exercise that's fast-paced endurance. So your heart rate's always up. I was doing dumbbell bench press straight into push-ups. You kind of repeat that cycle, 5 or 6 times. And towards the end of that, I'm just completely exhausted. So I pressed the weights, set them down, and then I moved into push-up position, 1, 2, 3, and by, 6 or 7, my arms were screaming to the point where I'm like, okay, I've reached failure. You know the ship's about to sink, right? And so towards the end, maybe rep 8 or 9, I just collapsed, hit the floor. Figured I'd take 5 seconds, shake it out and come back and finish the push-ups. But Eric was standing right over me, and he looks at me and he says, never do that. And I kind of looked at him confused, like, what? Because it's not like I'm dogging the workout, right? I'm going as hard as I can here. He just says, never just fall. That's quitting, right? You don't quit. Why would you do that? Never just quit. And it took me a second to understand, right? I'm like, what do you mean? I gave everything. But then he explained, just think very practically, Eddie. Think about how much blood you've forced into those muscles, how much energy you've already spent, how hard you've worked to get to this point of failure, this beautiful precipice. When you know you're failing, you fight all the way down. You fight until you physically cannot move and your chest hits the floor. Because that's the moment where growth is born. That's the place where strength is forged. Never give that up. That's the goal. That's what's precious. And, I gotta be honest, like hearing that, it made sense right away, but I'd never thought of it before. And my ego was bruised. I felt embarrassed. I'm like, how has this never crossed my mind? And I thought I was going all out. I thought that was just the way you do it. You drop, you reset, and you come back. That's why coaches are so valuable. That's why you need mentors. That's why we need people who see things we don't. Because what I thought was the end was really just a missed opportunity. And so now that I've sort of painted this picture in the gym, let's pull it up a level and make it practical. Let's find the bigger picture. That 5-second window doesn't just live in the gym, it lives in my life and your life. It shows up when you hit the wall in your career, when the relationship cracks, when the dream feels too far away. We think collapse, right? It's natural. We think I'll reset, I'll try again later. But what if that's the moment to fight? What if the fall itself is the rep? Or at least the most important one, right? What if the breakdown is what forges the breakthrough? See, every setback carries within it the raw material for your comeback. Every loss carries a seed of wisdom. But, and here's the kicker, only if you choose to grasp it, to take advantage, to fight all the way down. Only if you refuse to drop and walk away. The growth is not just in the success, it's in the struggle. It's in the awkward moments when you're not polished or composed, when your voice shakes, when your hands tremble. That's the iron being sharpened. That's you becoming who you were meant to be. So if you're listening to this right now and you feel like life just handed you an L, given the context, fill in the blank. Maybe you failed an exam, lost a job, maybe someone you trusted let you down. Don't just collapse. Don't let yourself, because of the tension, drop and move on to something else. Don't dismiss it as wasted time. Squeeze everything you can out of it. Extract the lesson and capture the wisdom. Let the circumstance break you down, because in that breaking down is the blueprint for building back stronger. Muscles grow when they tear. Souls grow when they're tested. Lives expand when they are stretched to the brink. And here's the truth. If you're already in pain, If you've already walked through that hell, why would you leave empty-handed? Why wouldn't you capture the most precious finale? Why would you walk away without the treasure that the suffering contains? Fight when your lungs are screaming. Fight when your body's shaking. Fight when your mind says you have nothing left, because the way down, the messy, brutal descent to the floor is the foundation of your resurrection. One day you'll look back and realize the moments that defined you were not the easy victories. They never are. They were the times you chose not to simply fall, but to fight every inch of the way. So don't waste the pain. Don't waste the hell you've endured or walked through. You're already in it. Make something of it. Let the fall become your greatest rep and fight all the way down. Earlier today, we came across a video, and I'm going to paraphrase a lot of it, so it's not an exact quote, but hopefully you'll get the gist from this story. It's essentially Shaquille O'Neal talking to his son. And, it's not a story about, dunking and championships or highlight reels. He was talking to his son about sacrifice. And his son basically says, Dad, I want to play in the NBA like you. And Shaq's looking at him and saying, then you need to understand what that means. Right? Very stern, very almost concerned demeanor, which pulls you right into the video. It's pretty powerful. He's kind of going through their past. And he says, do you understand what that means? If you want this dream, I need you to understand what it means. And he goes on. And again, I really want to emphasize that I'm paraphrasing the idea, right? But he's essentially saying, if you want this dream, you'll miss birthdays. You'll miss family dinners. You'll miss time with friends. You won't have that balanced, carefree life that most people enjoy. It goes back even deeper. How many birthdays did I miss? Right? His son thinks for a second, a lot, right? How many plays did I miss? How many games? Right? You can see the sort of dots connecting in his son's head, That's the cost of being great at something. That's the price I had to pay. Because the reality is, in I believe what Shaq is getting at, is every dream has a toll booth. Every aspiration has a cost. And the question isn't whether you'll pay. It's whether the life on the other side is worth the price. And it's a question you have to ask yourself. And when you decide that it is, you go all in with every single thing you have. But first, you make sure that it is indeed something that matters to you. And there was a comment under the video that I found almost as intriguing as the video. It really makes you think, right? The comment was, you can have it all, just not all at once. Because today, and Shaq mentions this in the back and forth, he says, today, because of that work I put in, now I can help you. Now I have money to help my family be great. I have these things. But the cost, when you were younger, was missing a lot. Right? There were certain chapters, certain seasons. Now he has the resources, and now he has the time. But at the beginning, when he was climbing, he didn't. He had to choose. He had to trade comfort for greatness. Moments now for a legacy later. And that's not just his story. That's all of our stories. Life is trade-offs, and I can't emphasize this enough. It's like, you want to build a business? Okay, you're gonna have to sacrifice nights out. You want to run a marathon? Okay, you're gonna have to sacrifice sleeping in, right? To get those miles in before work. You want to write that book, create the art, step into the new identity. You're gonna have to sacrifice approval, sacrifice certainty. You're gonna have to sacrifice ease. Because dreams demand payment in advance. And it's not easy. Sometimes it even feels unfair. Sometimes it's like the universe is asking too much. But ask yourself, isn't that the point? Isn't greatness supposed to require something of us? Wouldn't it mean less if it didn't? You can have it all, just not at once. That line isn't about limitation. I think it's about sequence. It's about patience. About trusting that if you build the foundation today, the house will stand upon it tomorrow. Shaq missed birthdays so that essentially he could provide for birthdays. He missed plays so that he could set the stage for his family's future. He missed games so his kids would never have to miss opportunities, trade-offs, sacrifices, choices. That's the name of the game. And if you're in a season right now where it feels like you're missing out, remember, you're not losing, you are investing. You're exchanging now for later. You're planting seeds that will grow into trees, forests. So when you're tired, and if you're not right this moment, there will be a time when you are. When you're tempted to quit, if you think that thought will never, even for a moment, enter your head and bounce around, my friend, you are wrong. When you see everyone else laughing and playing and seemingly living these perfect lives while you're working, I need you to remember the truth that was echoed from a father to his son and now to you. That line that by chance I stumbled upon. You can have it all, just not all at once. So in this season of life, choose your all. Choose your sacrifice. Choose the thing you're willing to miss so that one day you can stand where few ever stood. And when someone asks, was it worth it? You'll be able to look back at the life you built, the people you've helped, the legacy you left, and answer without hesitation, yes, it was worth every trade-off, every difficult decision, all the sacrifice, the temporary pain, the suffering. It all helped you design the life you wanted to live with intentionality, with purpose, with passion. It all brought you here. And what a beautiful thing. You can have it all, just not all at once. I'm a firm believer that very often the anticipation and anxiety around how long the pain will last hurts way more than the pain itself. And I think intrinsically we know this. When we know the sprint or push-up hold or wall sit will only last 15 seconds, it makes the discomfort exponentially more tolerable. And it does so immediately. It's like, oh, 15 seconds? Okay, no problem. But if someone just yells out, start sprinting and don't stop until I tell you to. Do a push-up hold or a wall sit until you hear a whistle. Your mind immediately becomes consumed with how long will this last? What if it's 3 minutes, 5, 10, then what? The task itself, regardless of how challenging, is almost always manageable. And there's a quick little anecdote for you that brought this to the forefront of my mind again. So, yesterday I had a migraine, and it's been a long time since I've had one, but something triggered it, and it hit me, and it was the usual, room started spinning, head pounding, pulsing right behind my eyes, which, the lights started bothering me so much that I had to keep them closed for most of the day. Yesterday was a lost day. And it came on during my morning workout, 7 a.m. intervals, and it was just a tough experience, right? My trainer's having me go from jump squats to decline push-ups to sprints and on and on. And it's a workout that's hard enough to do when you feel incredible, right? When you're energized and feel like $1,000,000. Let alone a headache that's almost debilitating, right? And the internal dialogue immediately emerged. Like, hey, say something, right? Do we call it off? Imagine how this is going to feel 40 minutes from now. It's going to be unbearable. You can't do this. That's the chatter going on in my brain. But ultimately, I don't know if it was pride or what, but I just made the decision. We're down here. He obviously drove here. Let's finish. And the footage is pretty funny to look back on. He took some, iPhone shots, and it's like, I look like I'm openly weeping the entire workout, just like the pain in my face, just pouting to myself as I do an ab circuit, right? But here's the reality. As awful as that was, you take it one set at a time, and even that misery is manageable. I finished about 90 minutes later, went upstairs, turned the lights off, and was in bed until dinner, right? But as I got up and kind of decompressed, I just kept thinking, dude, that sucked so much. And you did high intensity interval training in the heart of that chaos. And some of you might hear this and think I'm boasting or trying to sound cool. I promise you I'm not, right? Here is the reality, and why I think this matters to begin with. It has nothing to do with being special. Nothing. It has everything to do with how strong we are when we break life down into short intervals and stop looking at the work in totality. We can do the miraculous 15 seconds at a time. Even when our head's exploding as we're doing jump squats with the 20-pound medicine ball. I harp on this because it is the essence of greatness. To me, it's not just semantics, it's not just words, right? No one can run a marathon, but we can run 1 mile 26.2 times. Same thing? I think not. And it's the fear of the adversary in its entirety that stops us from dismantling it. We can do incredible things when we take what's in front of us and conquer it. Only what's in front of us, one step at a time, one brick at a time, one action at a time. The way you build a media company is the same way you run 100 miles. You just jump into it and tackle all the little, and sometimes not so little, obstacles as they emerge. As though you're jumping into a river and dealing with the current in real time. Do I ever want to do that again with a migraine? Hell no. But guess what? I know I can. And somehow that perspective made today's workout a little easier. I guarantee you in your world there are things you either consciously or subconsciously shy away from because in totality they just seem like too much. But the things that will transform you, that will change your life, they are too much, way too much. They're bigger than anything you can handle in one bite. But no one's asking you to do it all at once. The answer is in doing it, period. Jumping into that river or stream and navigating it piece by piece. There is so much power untapped residing in you, waiting to be released into the world. But you have to understand you are the gatekeeper of your own mind. Understand that you are the one slowing you down. You are the only one who sends permission slips in your life. When you get that, when you truly understand, life becomes an assortment of pieces waiting for an architect who can build, run, fight, create, endure, whatever it is, in 15-second increments for however long it takes. And my thought, well, I'll leave you with this. Right now, this moment is your time. But you have to gift yourself permission to make the most of it. Even when the conditions aren't ideal, even when the road seems long, at some point you'll look back over your shoulder and be shocked at the ground you covered 15 seconds at a time. I was late. The kind of late where, you're pacing, your heart's racing, you're running around, kind of muttering under your breath. And I'm looking everywhere. Under couch pillows, in the pocket of a jacket I haven't worn in weeks, crawling around under the desk, tossing shoes out of the closet. Whole apartment's a mess, right? And the one thing I need, my keys, they are nowhere to be found. And it's pretty comical. My girlfriend, who was standing outside of the apartment waiting as I ran back in to find them, she finally walks in and takes 2 steps into the apartment, looks to her right, and points right to the keys hanging by the door. There they are, there they always were, right where they should be. I had torn apart the entire room looking for something that was right in front of me. Why? Because I suspected them to be everywhere but there. So we had a quick laugh. I shook my head, grabbed the keys, walked out the door. But it stuck with me. Kind of put it in my back pocket, metaphorically, and said, I'm going to come back to it because there's more. I think that moment was more than just forgetfulness. I think it's a mirror to how we often live. How many times do we do this in our lives? Well, I won't speak for you, but I can say personally, quite a bit. Searching, striving, exhausting myself, thinking the solution has to be hidden in some complex system, some new secret answers out there, it just needs to be found. When the truth is, often, the thing we need's already hanging right there on the rack. I mean, think about it. We chase supplements, expensive gadgets, miracle routines. When sometimes, what do we need to do? Stretch, hydrate, drink more water, electrolytes, improve our sleep, meditate, right? Get the cortisol down. The simplest solutions can be the most transformative. We carry stress like it's welded to our shoulders. We search endlessly for ways to escape it, but the key just might be a 10-minute walk outside or a phone call to a friend. Right? That moment of silence, just closing your eyes and breathing deeply to regain composure in what seems like a frantic day. We overlook the obvious because we convince ourselves the answers have to be hard. They have to be hidden. But they don't. I remember training injuries that wouldn't go away. Right? I would scroll through articles, watch videos, chase down every advanced rehab technique. Then one day a coach asked me, do you stretch? Do you drink enough water? Right? That's simple. It's like, yeah, I stretch. Yeah, well, what does stretching mean? Do you do it for a half hour? Do you do it daily? Are you working on your mobility? And I'm like, mobility? I run, that's pretty mobile. But it was just ignorance. That's half the battle. If you're going to run every day, if you're going to lift weights, you need to be stretching your hip flexors and doing the things that keep you in the game. And so I started to work on that and the progress came back. Right? The keys were on the rack the whole time. What was needed wasn't a miracle. It was doing the foundational things I'd overlooked. When I've felt seasons of sadness, I've told myself stories about how complex the solution must be. I need to tear it down, reinvent everything, overhaul my life. Then I remember, have I been connecting with people? Have I been getting out, laughing, sharing life? Seems obvious, seems intuitive, but when you're immersed in something you're building, for me, that seems to be the first thing that I let go of. And I pay for that. I pay a steep price. Often the quickest way out of a fog is through community, through presence. We know this, we just forget. So that makes you ask why. Why do we miss what's right in front of us? Well, my instinct is that our minds want complexity. We equate complicated with valuable. We think the solution to feeling stuck must be fill in the blank, a new career, a massive transformation, a move across the country. Sometimes, sure, that's right on, depending on the context. But other times, let's even go as far as to say, most times, the next step is simply to start. It's to open the laptop and write one sentence, or put on running shoes and jog around the block. It's to read 15 pages of a book, right? Something to gain momentum. The extraordinary is built on the ordinary. Never forget that. It is repetition of very doable, commonplace things. The masterwork is built on brushstrokes. The victory is built on small, often obvious choices repeated again and again and again. But we overlook those because they're not glamorous. They don't feel profound. They feel, ordinary. And yet, my friends, ordinary is where the keys hang. So if you take anything from this, remember, life is not always about searching harder. Sometimes it's about seeing clearer. The keys to your growth, your healing, your peace, they might not be hidden under the couch cushions of complexity. They might be right in front of you, waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to grab them and walk through the door. So the next time you feel lost, make sure you're looking at the cue rack. Chances are the answer has been there all along. Sometimes I think of life like a boat cutting through water. Behind it, as we all know, a wake forms. Loud, messy, sprawling. It looks alive, almost as though it's pulling the boat forward. But it's not. The wake doesn't drive the boat. The wake is simply proof of where the boat's been. Now the question is, how often do we confuse that boat, aka our past, for the thing that controls where we're headed? We often look backwards and think it dictates our future. We see a failure behind us and think failures ahead. We look at heartbreak yesterday and tell ourselves we are broken for good. We replay mistakes, convincing ourselves that they are what's to come. They are who we are. But they are the wake. And again, the wake is not the driver, it is only the record, a reflection, a footprint dissolving into water. Your mind will try and tell you that history is prophecy, but that's not true. History is what it is, history. The past is not a compass, it's an echo. Every single reinvention, every transformation, every comeback story is born when someone realizes this. The past doesn't determine the path forward. That boat is moved by the motor, by the present moment, the person holding the wheel, making decisions right now. What matters is the courage to put your hands on the wheel now and say, this is the path I'm taking. This is the direction I'm headed. Yes, the wake will always exist. People will remind you of it. They'll point to it, reference it. Your thoughts will often circle right back to it. But the churn behind you does not dictate the direction ahead. And I can give you plenty of examples of this, right? Both personally and also anecdotally out there in the world, right? It's the athlete who missed the game-winning shot. And yeah, that moment is forever in highlight reels, but it does not determine whether the next shot goes in. It's the entrepreneur who lost everything in their first venture. As many do, by the way. The scars remain. But that situation doesn't dictate whether the next idea takes off or not. It's the person burned in a relationship, right? That heartbreak shapes memories. But it doesn't prevent them from finding something new, right? Something real, something better. It's easy to conflate the two. What happened and what can happen, right? Because the wake is real, but it's not destiny. And here's the real twist. I would argue that that wake is actually evidence of courage. It's not a chain. It's not something keeping you in place. It's proof that you've moved, that you've lived, that you have been bold enough to try. So instead of being haunted by it, why not celebrate it? The wake shows that you've dared. It shows that you've entered the arena. You've risked, that you've had the courage to begin. You might think that's nothing. Well, you'd be shocked to know how many people never do step out their front door. You'd be shocked to know how many dreams die in people's minds before they've ever had a chance to see the light of day. So the real question, I'll echo, is not what happened behind me. The real question is, where am I steering now? Every second your boat cuts through new water. Every second is a chance to turn and redirect, to set a new course. In the past, as beautiful or as painful as it may be to think about, it's indifferent. It doesn't care whether you turn north, south, east, or west. It only records what you've already done. That's why you are free. You're free to reinvent yourself, by the way, which you can do at 25, 45, 65, or 85. Free to rewrite your story today. Free to steer toward a horizon that once felt impossible. Make believe. So keep your head up, look ahead. Out there, beyond the bow of the boat, is the horizon. Endless, unbroken possibility. That is the truth about your life, not the wake. The echoes behind you. The open water ahead is what matters. But as you know, the past will whisper. It will remind you of those old mistakes. It'll talk about your old failures, your old pain. It'll ask you, hey, remember me? And most importantly, remember those times you fell short? That's where you have to step up and be your greatest ally. You have to remind yourself the wake does not drive the boat. Your mistakes don't define you. Your failures don't define you. Your heartbreaks, your wrong turns, your scars, none of them control what happens next. They are that wake, contained in a single stream disappearing into nothingness. It's proof that you were bold enough to set sail, and that's all. What drives the boat is where you choose to go now. The courage in your heart, the decisions you make today, the wheel in your hands this very second. So stop staring at what's behind you and look ahead. Because that ocean is vast and that horizon is yours. You're driving down the road, and you see someone running. As your car approaches, it becomes pretty clear that this person is flying. 5.5, 6 minute pace, comfortable, confident. They look fit. You can tell they've done this a million times. This is their wheelhouse. Awesome, you think. Good for them. Drive up a few more blocks, and you see someone else running. But this person's a bit heavier, right? Clearly not in good shape. but they are running. In fact, a run-walk thing. Average speed per mile isn't really a thought or consideration here. You can see the pain in their face, the sweat running down their forehead as they navigate a world that is foreign to them. Both running situations are incredible, right? The first person worked their ass off to get there. You can see the commitment and the consistency. You can see the discipline, the pain tolerance, all of it. But the second person does something to my soul. Because I know what that's like. To step into a world you know nothing about. See, that second runner, they're not leaning on a foundation of discipline or consistency. There's no muscle memory or routine. It's pure courage. It's getting up in the face of fear and doing it anyway. That is everything good about life condensed into a single action. I recently heard someone say that they stopped going to the gym, after trying it because it was intimidating. And I respected the honesty, right? Those stories we tell ourselves in our heads, they feel real, right? When we are new to a foreign world, they're not pretty. It's like, I look dumb, I'm clueless, people definitely think I suck, and the narratives go on and on and on. But as I've evolved, I've come to understand the power in those moments. They deserve to be celebrated. They are everything. See, most people don't reach finish lines. And it's not because the journey is long. It's because the start is pain. Being self-conscious is pain. Being the slowest, weakest, newest, the one with the most to learn, the highest hill to climb, that is pain. How many people are willing to play that role? How many are willing to walk down a street while quote-unquote experienced runners fly by? How many people are willing to go to the gym and bench just the bar, which is less than plenty of folks even warm up with? But that is the spot where greatness begins. That spot isn't for the timid. It's for those with the courage to change their lives. To step into the fire. When I see people who are clearly out of shape lacing up their shoes, I think you are the embodiment of courage. And sure, we can talk trophies and finish lines and all that in due time, but first, do the thing most never do. Step into an arena and own it. Run your race against you and do it every day. And perhaps that's the question we should all be asking of ourselves more. What areas of life is that courage required? Where can I lace up my shoes? Pay the price to step into a life-changing trajectory when you're fearful and insecure, when your mind is whispering, yeah, but you're already good at a few things, stick to those. No, where is it in your world that if you found the courage, excellence would unfold before you? Most of us know what that is. We think about it, we dream about it, but rarely do we act about it. So here's to being the one willing to go before you're ready, to play the student. Here's to lacing up those shoes and stepping into the race that's been calling you for as long as you can remember. When you look at the mountain, it's easy to be overwhelmed by its size, to let fear and doubt paralyze you. But what if I told you the summit is never reached in one heroic leap? It's conquered one quiet step at a time. One subtle movement into the abyss after another. It's not about the impossible. It's about seeing the impossible as what it truly is. Shrinking it down, making it small enough to manage. So let's talk about taking the mask off of impossible and revealing what it is, those manageable pieces. And I've learned this truth, not in some grand lecture hall or because of years of school or the pages of a book, but in the echo of my own breath. Doing, creating, building out in the world, right? Growing a business, putting my body through difficult tests, putting my mind through the battlefield that is self-discipline, and essentially commitment to the promises I make to myself. And that's what I want to echo today, how, one, we are capable of way more than we can possibly imagine. So let's just get that out of the way. We're all operating at a fraction of what we could be doing. And two, it's never about the obstacle ahead, the size of what waits before us. It's how we assess and internalize and break down those obstacles. It is doable. Again, your mind just has to perceive it as so. No one leaps a marathon. As much as we wish we could when we're tired and worn down and hurting, but we can't. But what we can do is utilize what's around us in a way that helps us win. We can rig the game in our favor. And so here's a quick example that I wanted to share. I like to put myself in these circumstances because it's truly an exercise in taking these giant things and turning them into very real, practical roadmaps. A few days ago, I did an afternoon bleacher workout in an empty stadium in Phoenix, Arizona. Very simple, right? Sprint up the bleachers and then you walk down, recovering. As soon as you get to the bottom, you turn around, you sprint up again. And the goal was to do 30 of these, right? 30 sprints up, 30 walks back down. And like so many things, it's a cakewalk until it isn't, right? I remember hitting sprint 12 or 13, you start going, oh man, I better recruit the mind to start painting this picture as something fun and beautiful and exciting because the body wants to revolt. Right? You get that sort of mini panic that's like, bro, I don't know how long you can sustain this. It's just reaction, it's real. And at the start, standing there looking up at endless rows, the towering steps, the mind, you can't help but watch it, observe it, question, how can I possibly do this? 30 sprints up? That's a lot in this heat. It's a tall order. And on top of that, the hardest part is no one's around, right? I technically don't need to be there. Why not leave? Or why not do 20 instead of 30? What's keeping me committed to such a quote-unquote foolish pursuit? That, when I start engaging in suffering, is always the talk that goes on in my head, the negative self-talk, that whispering, again, you're not at gunpoint here, buddy. Walk away. But I think that's the secret of any great feat, right? Whether it's something as trivial as running up steps or, something as grandiose as starting a business, pursuing a degree, starting a family, raising kids, whatever it is, it's never accomplished all at once. It's never one single push, one massive effort. It's the ability to break it down, to divide it, to transform the colossal into manageable pieces. If you understand this, you possess a skill set that makes everything else in life doable. You're holding a key capable of opening any door. And on those stadium steps, I leaned heavily back into the games I used to play with numbers while running so many times in my past. I didn't think about 30 sprints. I thought about the first one, just one. I'd trick my mind into seeing less, into shrinking the impossible. One sprint, one effort. Then I'd reach the top, I'd smile because, well, the next one was the same, just one more. Turn and go. Turn and go. 17. One becomes two. Two becomes 10. The numbers grow, but the method remains. At 13, we're not even thinking about 30. That's crazy. Think about getting to 15. That's only 2 away. 2 sprints away. And then guess what? I'll be halfway. What a celebration. How amazing. What an honor. You're about to hit 15. Focus on that.
We're only 5 away from that. It's all you think about. It's all that occupies your mind. Anyone can do 5 more. 5.
And guys, I want to be clear. I understand the simplicity and seemingly trivial nature of this. I'm emphasizing it because I don't want you to dismiss it thinking, oh, this is just semantics, or oh, this is just how you talk to yourself. It's everything. It's giving yourself permission to win. It's unpacking the grandiose into the manageable. And that's why it's been so effective for me. I've learned to count in 5s, to count in 10s, to create milestones and markers along the way. Each one a small victory, a reason to keep going, which in and of itself is power, right? It's like you create this little validation, you build it into your process so that you're going to bed feeling like a winner, because you are. It's not, oh, I don't have the mountaintop 8 miles away. It's another L for me. No, I took 3 steps today. I pointed out what they would be, I planned them, and I hit them. That's winning. Each one is a reminder that the summit is not some distant place, it's right here, in this moment, in this step. And see, in life, especially when we're going through our most difficult times, it's incredibly easy to get lost in the enormity of it all. The weight of the journey in totality can be paralyzing. That's true in the stadium, but it's just as true in life. We look at our dreams, our ambitions, the vast landscape of what we want to build, and we think, I'm not enough. It's too big, it's too much. I am one person in a very vast world. But let me tell you this. It's never too big when you expose it for what it is. It's never too much when you find the pieces that comprise it. Everything can be broken into small, manageable parts. Everything. After all, that's what they are made of. The tiny building blocks are what come together to create the enormity people see from afar. But you're not fooled. You know you're not climbing the mountain in one step. It's a bunch of micro steps, one then another and then another. In fact, it's not even really a mountain when you're on it. It's an assortment of little rocks. And I think about the times I've faced obstacles in my life. Projects that seemed too big or overwhelming, relationships that felt too complicated to fix, dreams that felt too fragile to pursue. The lesson of the bleachers, right? The lesson of one sprint at a time carried me through all of it. Building this media company, every single creation, every video, every story, thinking this could be the one. This will connect with people. This will change the trajectory of what I'm doing here. It allowed me to stay focused, one release at a time, one message at a time. Forget the larger than life aspirations. You can only focus on now. Life is the same as that stadium. The outcome is not guaranteed by our intentions alone. It's shaped by our approach, by our willingness to find a path that makes the outcome actually plausible. Not about erasing pain, but about making pain a companion. About turning the discomfort into an ally, part of the process, turning the task into a series of sprints instead of a single marathon. Never forget, anyone can do one sprint, right? And the fun part is 30 is just one 30 times. Anyone can say, do a wall sit for 15 seconds. Well, 2 minutes is just 15 seconds 8 times. Eddie, this is just semantics. Time is time is time. No, it's not. It's how your brain processes and manages what's in front of it. That's what determines whether you win or lose. Again, a lot of people I know have quit things out of frustration with how far away the finish line is. What they failed to realize is they shouldn't even be looking at the finish line. They should be creating benchmarks, hitting those little victories worth celebrating. Because when the time comes and they look back, they'll see a trail of success so pronounced that it'll be mind-blowing. That's how you win. Whether you're climbing stadium steps or building a dream from scratch, you win by shrinking the problem, by making it so small your mind can't find a reason to quit or be intimidated. Take a breath. Look up at that towering set of steps in your life and then begin one step at a time. You're not responsible for anything else besides that step. And as you know, anyone can take one step. So by refusing to sit in awe of the challenge before us, by pulling out its pieces and stacking them so that they become our foundation, well, that's how we win. That's how we defeat the impossible. By refusing to let it stay impossible. There's a truth we often forget when we're in the trenches. A truth that feels unglamorous, uncomfortable, sometimes hard on the ego. But nevertheless, it's this. If you are not willing to play the fool, you cannot be the master. It's not optional. It's simply the cost. And sure, when we see it on paper, it makes sense. It sounds almost poetic. Like one of those motivational posters you walk by, you glance at, nod, and keep moving. But when you're in it, it's a different story entirely. When you're standing at the intersection of your heart pulling you one way and your head screaming every reason you're not enough, it's no longer poetic. It becomes brutal. Imposter syndrome doesn't knock once and leave. It rings in your head on repeat. Fear of criticism never seems to vanish. The anxiety, the embarrassment, sometimes even anger at being a beginner when it feels like everyone else is an expert. Well, it stacks on top of you until the weight feels unbearable. And in that moment, your mind does a lot of things, but it certainly does not whisper, hey, this is good. This is growth. This is the cost of admission to mastery. No, our lizard brains scream. Run. Run as fast as you can. Get out. Find something easier, something more comfortable, something that feels more you. That's what we're designed to do, solve problems. And again, when our brains see discomfort, when they sense pain, they rush to eliminate the pain. It makes perfect practical sense. Make it stop, the brain says. But what it doesn't understand is that the discomfort is not the problem. Surprise, it's the solution. I'm going to take you way back to one of my favorite examples of this, Michelangelo. Right, when we think of Michelangelo, we certainly think of a genius. You know, the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, creation of Adam, the marble David. His name is synonymous with mastery. But here's what most people don't know. When Pope Julius II commanded him to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling, Michelangelo resisted. Didn't feel qualified. In fact, he flat out said he was a sculptor, not a painter. Painting that vast ceiling seemed like an impossible task, way outside of his skill set, and perhaps destined to expose his shortcomings to the world. And so he stalled, and he argued, and he begged to be let out, because like all of us, Michelangelo feared looking like a fool. But history didn't let him hide. Right? The commission went forward, and Michelangelo found himself day after day lying on scaffolding, paint dripping into his eyes, wrestling with a medium he didn't even consider his own. He doubted his abilities. He struggled. He felt like an imposter in his own craft. And yet, 4 years later, he stepped back, and the ceiling he created wasn't just good, it became one of the most celebrated achievements in the history of art. The ceiling of the Sistine Chapel wasn't painted by someone confident and certain of his place in history. Much more human experience, right? It was painted by someone who thought they weren't qualified, who felt out of place, who feared being exposed. I don't know if you've been there, but I have. That is the point. Mastery is born in the moments we feel least like masters. And, take that metaphor to the present day. Think about some of the creators you admire most. The ones with millions of followers. The ones who seem to command the camera with ease. If you scroll all the way back to their first videos, right, if they've had the courage to leave them up, you'll find something very different. You'll see someone fumbling through words, rambling without direction. You'll see a lack of confidence, shaky delivery, uncertain eyes staring back into the lens. Or more realistically, probably somewhere around the lens, right? You get the idea. They weren't experts. They weren't even good. But again, that's the point. How could they be? You don't walk into a gym the first time, load the bar up and bench 225. No, you start with weight so light it feels insignificant. While some guy, by the way, across the room is probably curling the same amount you're trying to bench. And that sting, that frustration, that's the toll booth on the road to greatness. The awkwardness, the doubt, insecurity, it's all real, it's all normal, it's all merely the price of admission. But here's the tragedy. Because there is a tragedy, and it is a tragedy of great magnitude. Most people never pay that toll. And it's not because they can't. That's the thing. It's because they won't. They talk themselves out of it before the momentum has a chance to shift. Before that tiny snowball rolling downhill turns into an avalanche. They trade long-term mastery for short-term comfort. Never realizing they were one rep, one video, one attempt away from the tide turning. And so they go back to what's easy. To what doesn't scare them. They go back to being comfortable, and in doing so, they go back to being stuck. So let me remind you, when you feel foolish, when the weight feels heavy, when your words, stumble out awkwardly and uncertain, this is not failure. This is certainly not proof you don't belong. This is the evidence that you are exactly where you need to be. Because mastery is not about talent handed down from the heavens. It's about walking through the valley of foolishness with enough faith to keep moving. Every single expert you look up to, every voice that's inspired you, every innovator that's changed the game, at some point they were the fool in the room. They stood at the bench lifting less than the guy next to them. They stood behind the camera saying too much or not enough. They stood in front of audiences that did not clap, and they kept going. That's the difference. Not that they were born better or that they had a magical gift you do not. It's that they refused to let being the fool stop them from becoming the master. So next time the little voice says run, get out, you're not good enough, you're embarrassing yourself, stop, take a breath, and remember this is the cost. This is the toll to enter the path you say you want. And if you're willing to pay it, if you can endure the season of looking foolish, the day will come when you'll look back and realize that season was the very thing that made you. Because only those who have the courage to be the fool earn the right to be the master. There's a quote from Richard Branson that stuck with me. He essentially says, if someone offers you an amazing opportunity, but you don't know how to do it, say yes and then figure it out later. This little piece of wisdom is a key that unlocks so much opportunity in life. I mean, it sounds simple, right? Almost too simple, but it contains the DNA of progress and growth and achievement Because nothing meaningful in life comes with guarantees. Life doesn't hand you certainty, it hands you windows. And when those windows open, hesitation is the enemy. And let's use space travel as an example here. Let's go all the way back to 1962. John F. Kennedy standing in front of that crowd at Rice University saying, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard." Here's the thing. When he said that, the United States had no rocket that could make the trip, no spacecraft, no suit, no navigation system. The roadmap did not exist, but the declaration came first. The yes came first. It had to, right? And then the entire decade was spent figuring it out. That one leap of faith sparked innovation that not only took humanity to the moon, but changed the world forever. It's easy to forget that truth. You don't need to know how, right, before you start. You don't need to, know the entire path or have it laid out before you. Same industry, a couple decades later, take Elon Musk and SpaceX. To me, it's even more remarkable. Musk wasn't a rocket scientist when he decided to build rockets. He literally taught himself aerospace engineering in textbooks. First 3 launches failed. Of course, everyone told him to quit. Critics said it was impossible. But he'd already said yes, he'd committed. And because of that yes, he kept adjusting, kept learning, kept adapting until the 4th launch worked. And by the way, saved the company. That's the Branson quote in action, right? You say yes and you figure it out. And lately, in my own little world, I've been seeing this principle play out. I'm going to go back to athletics. Again, I go to this drawing board a lot just because there are a lot of metaphors you can make, a lot of parallels you can make. To me, none are as clear, concise, and really depict that 1-to-1 ratio the same way that fitness does, running does, lifting does. That struggle to me is life, so I pull from it often. My trainer started giving me, on top of the regular workouts, these fun but ridiculous weekend challenges, right? He makes this video, sends it to me, sometimes playfully, like super intense, like here's your mission, and it gamifies it a little bit. But the workouts are hard, right? They push me way out of my comfort zone. Whether it's an hour-long kettlebell carry, 15-minute wall sit, extended treading water, putting on a ruck and climbing my 12-floor stairs for an hour, 200 burpees in 25 minutes. You get the idea. Stuff that, it's not climbing Everest, but you hear it and you go, ooh, that doesn't sound fun. Maybe on the surface, it even sounds a little absurd, and you want to stop and think, can I even do this? But that's the beauty of it. It conditions me to say yes first, and once I commit, there's no more debate, right? The question is no longer if, it's how. And that transition is everything from a starting point. There's no if. This is happening. How is it going to happen? And when you do that, my God, do you empower yourself, right? Sometimes it's brutal, right? The burpees are a great example. I underestimated those, and I paid the price, right? Got it done, just with probably more suffering than... if I respected the process and came out slowly and methodically as opposed to just thinking I could blast through them. You live and you learn. But again, I got through that micro hell. And that's the pattern of life itself. We spend so much time waiting for certainty, waiting until we feel perfectly ready, forgetting that readiness is a myth. If you wait until you have every detail mapped out, you'll never move. The opportunities that change your life rarely come with instruction manuals. They show up wrapped in uncertainty, in discomfort, in risk. Your job is not to have all the answers. It's to step forward anyway. And what these challenges remind me of is this: I am stronger than I think. Not because I know everything, but because I trust myself to figure it out as I go. You don't discover strength by watching from the sidelines. You discover it in the fire. You discover it in the chaos. The willingness to step into something you don't fully understand. you know you'll adapt. Kennedy certainly didn't know how to get to the moon, but he declared it anyway. He put it into the universe. Musk didn't know how to build rockets, but he started anyway. He committed. Branson was right. Opportunities don't wait for your permission. They don't wait for you to feel ready. So when the next door opens, and it will, don't hesitate. Don't overthink or wait for certainty. Understand the power in saying yes, stepping in, and figuring it out later, because that's how change is made. That's how we grow. And it's how we uncover the strength we've had all along. The demons are at the door. Face them. Sometimes the demons are physical. Sometimes they're mental. Sometimes you don't even know. They appear to be a cloud hovering over you as you traverse life's ups and downs. What's important to understand, though, is that you cannot escape these demons. They'll show up no matter who you are and what you do. Really, in two ways. If you're bold, courageous, if you push life to the max, they'll appear before you because your growth depends on defeating them, facing them, conquering them. On the other hand, if you run and hide, if you placate to fear, those demons will still emerge, just in the form of regret, disappointment, the weight of knowing you could have been more and weren't. The demons that don't let go until they're confronted. See, you want the demons at the door. You want them to be so alarmed with your tenacity, so bewildered and taken aback by your courage that they push and they fight. You want them to battle almost as hard as you. When you're changing yourself, when you're adjusting your place in the world, those demons will arise. The barbarians always arrive at the gate, and sadly, their presence is often enough to stop the miraculous, right in its tracks, to destroy momentum, to get that individual in transit to second guess just long enough to turn around and return home. My demons, they whisper of safety. Eddie, they call out. They'll see. Eddie, you've wandered too far beyond the norm. You've reached beyond what's comfortable. You don't want to be here. Think about what could go wrong. Think about what your critics might say, who might turn their back. This is too new, too ambitious. Stop now, before it's too late. Before everything of value in your life that you once had, everything you cared about's gone. And I'll be honest, I don't think hearing that ever gets easier. But how you see those demons changes. Because when you understand that their mere presence is required for your growth, for your greatness, you simultaneously see that facing them is not a problem. It's the price. It's the cost of getting into the room. And so maybe knowing this, we rework the question. Let's make it two parts. One, are the demons at the door? And if they're not, why? Why haven't you ventured out far enough to meet them? Right? It's a run when you're tired, when your body's shutting down, and they whisper to stop, that you've gone too far. It's the ab circuit. When they plead with you to let your legs hit the floor, they say enough is enough. It's the new side hustle, project, or business. They tell you that it's going to cost you time and energy and resources. They tell you consistently that you're wasting energy, that you're an imposter in someone else's game. It's when you're trying to change but feel an obligation to the less than ideal version of yourself you identified with yesterday. They'll tell you to stop pretending that everyone in your life knows the real you, that this won't work. Just stay the same. And you might hear this and think it's haunting, but as counterintuitive as it may seem, these are the demons you want, the demons you need, because when they enter the arena, change is near. When they begin to chirp, to whisper, you bet evolution is happening. That's the good stuff. That's part one. Now let's move to part two. When your demons arrive, what do you do about it? Who will you become in their presence? Will you rise despite them or fall at their feet? See, anyone can win when the stars are aligned and things are easy. Anyone can succeed in a demon-free world, but when it really matters, what will you become? Who are you in the darkest of moments? There's an old cliche, I'm sure you've heard it. It says you practice how you play. Are there exceptions to this? Sure. But I get the essence of the idea, and I think it's why things like running have meant so much to me. Why difficult physical training holds so much weight. Because during those physical battles, my mind doesn't see the situation as me against the weights, or me against the road, or me against the clock. It's me against everything in life that wants me to lose. It's me against the demons that want me to stay the same. We don't slow down when we're exhausted. Not because of the run. Who cares about some arbitrary run? This run is symbolic. We don't slow down because this is life. This feeling is me wanting to quit when my business is hurting. It's me wanting to take the easy way out of a tough stretch with someone I love and care about. It's me when I feel self-conscious or inadequate, about to step into a room with people who have built empires I dream of replicating. What will I become in those moments? Who will I become? Because believe it or not, I'm answering that question in real time as my running shoes hit the pavement, as the sun shines down on a seemingly trivial, everyday morning of exercise. It's not about the run. It's about my desire to, 1, summons the demons, and 2, face them when they arrive. It's reinforcing the fact that there are two kinds of people in life, people who rise to the occasion and people who fade away. I refuse to be the latter. Life's upside is worth fighting for. I can have that, and so can you. But will you? Will you choose? And you have to choose when the world feels dark and voices cry out. When your demons are at the door, will you face them? They say the question is half full or half empty. But what if the real question is, what are you willing to pour into it? Every setback, every quiet morning, every passing doubt, all chances to choose what fills you. Today isn't about what's missing, it's about what's possible. The cup is here, the choice is and always will be yours. You see this cup? It's more than water. I think it's a metaphor for everything I'm trying to build. Half full, half empty, both are true, but neither really defines what's possible. They're prompts. Or maybe it's just a cup. A moment that doesn't really mean anything. Are you sure you're not just looking for signs in the quiet? Trying to convince yourself that there's more here than there really is? Maybe. But isn't that the point? To find value where others see routine. To see the half-empty cup and ask, what can I pour into it next? Take business. A lot of us can relate. That client who walked away last month, I could call it a loss. In fact, most probably would. But I could also see it as a chance to refine my vision, to depersonalize it, and create something so good they can't ignore it next time. It's not the easiest thing, but there's so much value there. Yeah, well, maybe it's just proof that you're falling behind. That the world is moving faster than your ideas can keep up. How do you know this is refining and not just stalling or wasting time or procrastinating? How do you know you're not pouring into something with no bottom? Well, I don't know, and you never could. But I've seen what happens when you don't try. When you cling to what worked yesterday instead of asking what could work tomorrow. The new day, the dawn, the opportunity. I'd rather risk another half-empty cup than never taste what's possible. Just like with relationships. There's love, the relationship that ended. But sure, I could see it as proof of failure, of not being enough. That would be easy to do, and in fact, most would. Or I could see it as a lesson in becoming more, a clearing for something new, someone new who meets me where I am now. Or maybe you're just rewriting the story to soothe the sting. Band-aids on bullet wounds. Maybe love isn't waiting for you around the next corner. Maybe you're carrying the same old patterns forward. There's no difference between now and yesterday, who you were and who you are. Is it really a lesson, or is it the same heartbreak wearing a different name, a new mask? Well, even if it is, isn't that life? Patterns broken not by hiding from them, but by meeting them head on? The cup only stays empty if I stop believing it can be filled again. Then it's just a numbers game. You have to keep your head up. Same thing with the social life and friendships, the drifting away of some I honestly thought would be around forever. I think back and sometimes it hurts. I get this feeling in my stomach of just sadness. It used to feel like failure. But now, I think maybe it's a sign to go deeper. To align with people who lift me up, just as I lift up them. It's clearing out the minutia to find alignment with the people in my world. Yeah, well, maybe you're just different. Too different. Maybe it's not them drifting, maybe it's you not getting it. Incapable of meaningful relationships. Maybe connection was never meant to last. No, not for you. Or maybe it's meant to evolve. Like the cup, emptied so it can be filled again. New conversations, new laughter, new stories I haven't even imagined yet. Just like in my fitness world with my body, the miles I run in silence, the weights I lift when no one's around, the sweat that speaks louder than words. Some days it feels like a battle I'm losing, but every push, every lift, every breath is a quiet promise that I'm still here and I'm still fighting. There's no time to view the empty space or the negative. Yeah, but aren't you tired? Doesn't it feel like a losing race? The reflection in the mirror, it never seems to match the effort you give. It always lags, doesn't it? Be honest. It's not about the mirror, it's about the ritual. It's about refusing to give in. The empty cup is not weakness, it's a chance to pour one more time, one more rep, one more sunrise. Don't you get that? That's what matters. The vessel, the cup, it screams opportunity. You always have an answer. You always find some silver lining. But isn't that just a way to avoid the truth? You're running. You're rationalizing. You're coping. Isn't it that maybe, just maybe, some cups were never meant to be filled? Sure, it's possible. But again, let's go to the theme here. I'd rather try again and again than let dust settle in the bottom. I'd rather live for the upside, for the chance, however small, that this next pour, right now, this next move changes everything. You are always one decision away from a totally different life. And what if you're wrong? What if this upside you're chasing never comes? Again, back to the point, it may never come. But I'll know I didn't die waiting. I didn't let doubt chain me to an empty cup forever, because even if it's empty now, it's still here. And that means possibility. Possibility. I used to believe in that too. Before the setbacks, before the half-finished dreams, before I forgot how to see the cup as anything but empty. Then let's remember together. Let's see the emptiness not as an end, but as the start of something new. Because the truth is, and I need you to remember this, most mistakes can be reversed. Most wrong turns can be remedied, turned around. And even if we don't get it right the first time, we can always pour again, try again. We can always rise again.